Welcome to a bonus episode of the Coast to Coast AFL podcast with Nick and Blaze. In this one, we're going to be running through our All Australian tips. We made singular options each, and then maybe we'll try and combine them afterwards to see if we can make a weird amalgamation of some sort of potential team. And that is it. So let's jump straight into it. How you doing, Mr. Cyrek?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Pretty excited for this one because, yeah, as I said, it's sort of always one of those things where we always come with like different games, and then we just, tend to agree. So, I'm interested to see who you picked. I'm sure you've unfortunately had a brief look at mine because for formatting reasons, but I'm sure you'll be somewhat interested in who I picked and why. And can't wait to acknowledge some pretty fantastic seasons, and maybe go into bat for a few players.
Oh yeah, there's definitely some opportunity for it. I will actually send you my team because I actually haven't done that. So you can look at my team as we run through it because I'm going to do that without my
All
own first. So, all right, you got that up?
Yep.
All right. So as you can see, my
Oh,
fullbacks, I got Mac Andrew, Jacob Wittering, and Jack Scrimshaw.
okay.
My halfbacks, Massimo D'Ambrosio, who I wanted on the wing, but it wouldn't let me pick. Ed Richards and Alex Pearce. So I kind of gone in a bit tall on the back line.
Yeah.
And then for the center, I've got two Brownlow favorites in Patrick Cripps and Marcus Bontempelli, and then Sam Walsh
Hmm.
as well. For half
Yeah.
forward, I've got Isaac Rankin, Jesse Hogan, and Brian Myers. For full forward, I've got Jack Ginnivan, Charlie Curnow, and Cam Rayner. My followers are Tom DeKoning as my head ruckman, Caleb Sarong, and Matt Rao. And
Hmm.
then for my interchange, I've got Tristan Sherry because he deserves to be All Australian. He has had a phenomenal season. Errol Goulden, Hugh McCluggage, and Will Day.
Yeah. There's some interesting picks. Some I agree with, some I don't.
It's definitely a tall team. I have a lot of
It
height.
is. That being said, I like my team tall. Plus, like all good midfielders are tall now. Um,
Yeah, they're no
but
longer
yeah,
like just under 6 foot. They're all like 6'1" at this point.
yeah. Also, I'm very surprised like Massimo doesn't go on the wing because like he's played most of the year on the wing. I wonder if that's just like an error. There's a few things that I'm surprised with. We'll get through when I go to my list.
And do you want to have a look at yours then?
Uh, um, yeah, sure.
And then we'll just
I
talk
need to
about
get
our
it.
picks.
Yeah, so at the fullback slot, I've got Harris Andrews, Jacob Wiedering, Jeremy McGovern.
I was tossing
Half.
up with putting McGovern on mine. It was very
Yeah, we'll have
close.
a talk about it in a bit. Halfback, we've got Max Holmes, Dan Houston, and Nick Martin. In the center, I've got Ed Richards. Look, he's a halfback, but it's positionless, so that's why I put him there.
Hmm.
Nick Dacos and Errol Goulden. Goulden being probably one of the fewer pure wingers you can actually pick.
Yeah.
And then half forward, Zach Butters, Jesse Hogan, Tyson Stengel. Full forward, Dylan Moore, Charlie Curnow, and you might think that's Josh Tracy, but he's actually filling the spot for Jeremy Cameron, who you cannot pick uh, in the All Australian selectors.
No,
So
I
that's
think
why Josh
I think you
Tracy's there.
definitely wanted to pick Josh Tracy.
I mean, I do want to. I can't legitimately say he's a better player than Jeremy Cameron in this year. Um, in terms of influence to team, though, absolutely huge. One of the most improved players this year.
Absolutely.
So no, yeah, I'm just fine having him in. Followers, Max Gorn. Like, I think even though there's been some other good ruckmans, I think Max Gorn is still by far and away the best ruckman this year.
Hmm.
Patrick Cripps, no surprise there, and Marcus Bontempelli.
Also, no surprise there.
Don't, yeah, exactly. And then on the interchange, look, it's all basically midfielders because basically, like your team, I've gone very tall, so it's really just like,
All mids.
interchange these players to actually make it playable. And I think all of these players you can sort of do that with.
I just
Caleb's
realized your entire forward line is pretty much tall except for Butters and Stengel.
Dylan Moore. He's only 174
Oh,
centimeters.
is he? Oh, I thought he was taller. Okay.
Yeah.
It's maybe it's
No,
just
he's
that
a
big head
small
of
forward.
his.
No, he plays like a tall, but he's not. Yeah, so Caleb's the wrong. Obviously, you're more hardball getter. Isaac Heaney,
Mhm.
player who can drift forward. Jack Sinclair, player who can play back, and Matt Rao for his defensive efforts. Any a combination of them, you'd probably put a toll down. Obviously, I didn't play a second toll because I'd play so many tolls. Like that was my sort of thing. Like you're not really playing Charlie Curnow as a second ruck. I just think
No, you're playing him
you're playing
full
Matt
forward.
Scorn and then forward ruck contest can go to Kerno or Hogan. But as you say, Cherry had an absolutely fantastic year. I think he's the only other ruckman I would personally choose. I know Tom DeKoning's had a very good season, but we'll talk about that in a bit. And yeah,
Well,
that does me.
the reason why I put DeKoning in is because you look at Carlton's season with DeKoning and then with Pitnet, and they have by far a better team with DeKoning as their head ruckman.
Like I've
Like,
got
it's a
little
massive
argument.
improvement.
Yeah, it's more just like, as I said, I tend to be a bit more stats focused. And we'll talk to it in terms of like constructing the teams in a bit. Like, I made my team, and I initially did have Cherry in, and then I sort of looked at the stats, and then like the final bit was, could I actually like feel this team and see some game resembling AFL football being played? Um, which sort of like had me dropping Cherry, but
Why did
yeah,
that
as I
one work
said,
that time? That's weird.
hmm?
So I did click the link to try and refresh it, and it actually brought up my team this time.
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
It's a weird system.
I reckon for the start, maybe go through the ones we've had in common,
Yeah, sounds like a good plan. Okay, so
which I need to figure out.
let me.
Jacob Wiedering.
Waitering is a key one. So who do we want to put in back pocket? Do you want to go Mac
Oh, I was
Andrew?
just gonna.
Oh, so do you want to? Just, doesn't matter on the layout. You just want to put in.
No, I was just like talking like players that we've both picked and why sort of thing.
Okay, so I think Waitering because Waitering is not even just statistics wise, like he is one of
Hmm.
the best fullbacks in the competition right now.
I would argue the best one-on-one defender, considering some of the other performances we've seen this year. Like a lot of defenders being based off intercept, and I know Carlton's defense hasn't even like been that great, but I think Jacob Wiedering's still like the glue, holding it together. Barely
Absolutely.
gets beaten one-on-one,
When
and
he
it's
was
not.
out, it was pretty dire for Carlton's defenses.
Yeah, exactly. So I think honestly, I don't think the gap's that big because the way I sort of did mine, and again, we'll talk about a bit later, is I went like one-on-one defender and then like intercept defender and then like sort of a both sort of pick.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say the only pure one-on-one defender, like to come close, I think it's Callum Wilkie, in my opinion. Um,
Yeah, I could see
uh,
it.
yeah, because as I said, I personally have only 5 players I would consider elite or like
In
all
terms of
Australian
like fullback or like in terms of just one-on-one defense.
in terms of the fullback line. Yeah,
Okay.
so and obviously 3 of those have been in this. So yeah, I will say Callum Wilkie's another one, and we'll talk about it a bit more when we get to that. Did we
Uh,
have anything equal in halfbacks? I don't think we
no,
did.
we did have Ed Richards, but you have him in the center and I have him in halfback. But it's
Yeah, I
basically the
mean,
same role for the most part.
yeah, Ed Richards a weird one because yeah, as I said, he floats. He actually has played probably equal times on the wing to centre half back because I did actually look at this time distribution. But I would say I put him in the centre because with Nick Martin's more back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and B, I think he's done most of his best work when he's been pushed up a bit. I like a lot of his entries since I-50. Um, Arguably, you can say the same for Nick Martin and he's back there. So it's just sort of how you want to do it. But yeah, Ed Richards. I think the Bulldogs massively improved once they shifted him up.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of their transition problems. We mentioned early in the year. I think that sort of got it. And I think we mentioned before, like he's one of the best kicks inside 50
Oh,
in terms of hitting
absolutely.
up a target.
He is thrilling to
Um,
watch.
so yeah, so Ed Richards, fantastic. Shared between us for good reason.
I think for the center, we both technically share Errol Golden, although I have mine sitting on the bench. But he'd go straight in the center for me.
Okay, yeah.
Um,
Oh, you do too.
so
Yeah, no,
I think it's self-explanatory as to why we would both have Golden.
yeah. I'm at best pure wing in the comp, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And well,
Um,
for me, for me, it's either him or D'Ambrosio because he's had a phenomenal season after leaving Essendon.
uh, D'Ambrosio, I considered picking as like the pure wingman, but again, it's a bit like Wilkie compared to Jacob Wiedering.
Mm,
It's like D'Ambrosio, in my mind, competing for that one wing spot. I know it is harsh. Like, as I said, wingers like a midfielder, you can be like the sixth or seventh best midfielder to get in. But D'Ambrosio, um, you know. But I think just what Gordon's able to do um, from transition, the amount of run is able to generate has been absolutely fantastic.
mm-hmm.
D'Ambrosio is like slithers away.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be upset if he was in the team.
No, neither would I. I think they're both excellent choices for that wing position.
Yeah.
All right, half forward,
Um.
we both share Jesse Hogan. He's been.
Uh.
I mean,
Quite
I
clearly,
do
he's one
also
of the.
have Cripps and Bontempelli, but we have them in slightly different positions.
Yeah, we'll talk about them when we talk about followers because they'll be more
Yeah, they're more
midfielders, I
follower
suppose.
based. Yeah. So yeah, we'll just go for half forward with Hogan. He's had a pretty consistent year. Usually
Yeah.
one of the best hands.
Yeah, I was going to say
Mid,
contestant mark
yeah.
off the scale.
Words are hard.
Um, yeah, and I will say he's been like he's been accurate as well, which hasn't
Well,
always like that shot
he's currently
accuracy.
leading the Coleman, right? At least
Yeah,
last
yeah,
few
yeah. He's
checks.
leading the common.
So it's
Yeah, and again,
the
if
numbers back
Corner
him
is out
up.
for two, yeah. Um, but it's pretty self-explanatory. It's like Charlie Conroy, but
Yeah,
I think
again,
there
like
is like a tiny bit of difference. Like I'd even say like Hogan's distribution's probably a bit better than Kerno's either,
yeah,
which is good
he
because you
is
can
more
sort of
consistent. And granted, he does have like a
yeah,
really good half forward midfield backing him up as well. Like you've got your Greens and your Whitfields, and
yeah, exactly. So they've never had a problem with distribution inside, but like it hasn't always been clean. But Jesse Hogan, like his pressure as well off the ball,
mm,
that's notably gone up. So even if it doesn't go in there cleanly, he's been able to make the most of it. Um, it's just some other supporting cast around him. The Giants have a great, especially in the last few weeks, offense going around.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. And then yeah, same's pretty much said for Kerno. He's one of the best tall forwards in the league for a reason.
yeah, as I said, he's more. Look, if you're gonna, he plays like old school. I will say, like he's really like that old, like that big, marking presence.
Mm,
Yeah, as I said, like he'll just make the best defenders seem like outclassed most of the time. Like Jesse Hogan, he works harder to beat him, but like the way Charlie Curnow does is just so. It's a mixture of like really great athleticism, excellent leading patterns, and as you know, very strong hands.
yeah, absolutely.
So yeah,
I think Matt Rowell is one that we also share, although you have him
yeah,
on your
Sarong and Rao.
interchange. Oh yeah, and
Yeah,
Sarong too. Um,
yeah. I honestly, for All Australian, I don't actually think interchange matters all
no,
that
not
much.
really. It's just
Like,
players that you would like primarily put on the field, but you just don't have room for them.
yeah, maybe that's it. It depends how you like make your All Australians, but yeah. Caleb Sarong, absolutely fantastic year. I think personally, because I've watched almost every Freo game this year,
Mm-hmm.
I think defensive pressure which is funny because I think you've got like two of the more defensively pressured midfielders as your followers. So, yeah, as I said, tackling's great. His distribution's great. Even though he's like not the most accurate kick in sub 50, it's still like not that bad. And
He's a
you saw,
massive ball winner. It doesn't necessarily matter too much, provided he's able to distribute to someone who can, like, be accurate
yeah,
inside 50.
exactly. And like I think it's more like his decision making's being very good. He knows when to hand off the handball. Like, when sometimes midfielders, they handball it to someone who's just about to get tackled, you know, for the pure reason of just getting it off.
Mm.
Whereas Sarong's able to find some of the better options, keep the ball moving for Freo. I've mentioned all year, like the outside to inside movement. He's been a big part of that.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but
And
yeah,
yeah, and with Matt Rowell, he's a pressure beast. Always a huge amount of tackles,
exactly.
massive clearance numbers, and
Yeah.
like
And
maybe his accuracy with the ball isn't great. His disposal usage is poor, but he's a hard ball winner like Sarong, like your Dacos's, and he just loves to
yeah.
get in there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, pretty much I think he's what I say, I'd say like I've been impressed with the way that he's responded to the coaches too.
Mm.
Like, and we've talked about it before, like how much he's hard tackling in the midfield. He was like almost playing not quite a tagger, but like very restricting. And then, as I said, as the season's gone on, I guess the Suns haven't exactly gotten what they wanted out of the season. He's been a bit unrestricted and he's just instantly gone back to some of his best football. Like, it wasn't like he wasn't his best before, but you know what I mean? It's just like that role of just him being the central engine for the Gold Coast. It was just instantaneous.
Yeah,
Very
absolutely.
impressed. Yeah.
Like, yeah, you surround him with your Flanders and your Andersons and your um their co-captain. I'm blanking right now. Currently injured.
Mills. Not
Uh,
Mills, Miller.
yes, Took Miller. There we go. Like you surround him by all these top tier talent, and they're able to not just be able to be massive ball winners on their own, but they're able to support his way of that he plays, and they're able to be his
Yeah,
distributors whilst he's in there getting all of the hard ball.
yeah. Because as I said, like the Suns are not a great clearance team, and it is literally like Matt
It's
Rao
literally just him
doing a
pushing up
lot
their
of
numbers.
yeah, like and I was actually surprised you didn't pick him, but I would say it's like in a similar vein to Zach Merritt. Like
I was
I'm not saying
considering
in terms,
Merritt.
yeah,
He was probably going to go in
um,
over Myers if I was to pick.
yeah. But anyway, like as I said, in terms of like one person defining the way a midfield, I would say, yeah, Zach Merritt and Matt Rao. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I
Uh,
pretty much agree. All right. Do we have to really explain why Patrick Cripps and Marcus Bontempelli are in our teams?
ah, you might need to explain why you're doing the poor wingman a disservice by putting him on the wing.
To
Um,
be fair, I was just putting
but
them in the team. I didn't entirely think about where they should go.
yeah, no, as I said, that's just somehow how some people do it. Yeah, Patrick Cripps, fantastic ball winner. I think I will highlight, because we all know one of the biggest things he's been better on this year, goal kicking.
Hmm.
Absolutely fantastic compared to some of the others. He never used to be a reliable one. And when you look at Carlton, and I mean, it's going to be huge over the next couple of weeks because if Carlton going to make finals,
Yeah,
with the players that got injured,
yeah, he
they're
needs
they're
to
going to
have
need a
massive
few
games in
goals.
the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, like honestly, like as I said, you don't really want to be taken about personally, but it could be like something that gets him a Brownlow if he goes hard the next 2 weeks, gets a couple of three voters.
Well, who just for the sake of it, who are the doggies playing in the next 2 weeks? 'Cause I've already forgotten.
It's one lower team, one mid team.
North
Let me
Melbourne
get
this week
yeah, and I think
and
GWS.
GWS next week.
Yeah,
So This week could be an easy game for the Bond to get 3 Brownlow votes. Next week would be
Yeah,
the really hard game to get 3 Brownlow votes.
yeah, exactly.
So
Especially if he gets the Bedford tag.
if Cripps is
Um,
going to massively step up and try and get his hands on that Brownlow for good, these next 2 weeks have to be really crucial for him.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, as I said, I would imagine the Brownlow race is between Cripps, Bont, and Nick Dacos.
Yeah, I would say
Um,
Dacos is the third at this point because of the way Sydney have been playing. I think Heaney and Golden have fallen down the rankings.
yeah, it's gonna be hard for them. But you know, as I said, you never know. But yeah, Dacos is interesting. Like I've talked about some of the downsides of yeah,
Hmm.
and yet like I know you didn't put him in, but you know, it was just like looking back and then like, you know, it's like man, he's still like one of the best
Yeah,
uh
and he's only going to get better just
midfielders.
because of how young he is.
Yeah. But yeah, so we'll talk about that a bit. And Bontempelli. Um, yeah, without Petrarca around, he's one of the best midfield to forward connections in the competition.
Oh, so
Able to
I was
like
confused for a second. I was like, are you comparing them? Are you saying they're on the same team?
yeah, comparing him
Yeah, that makes
like
sense.
you know, because as I said, like because in my mind I sort of split plays into like slightly different roles because you know as I said Patrick Cripps like you know I said his attack has gotten better but he's still like the ball winner ball distributor um which isn't exactly what Bontempelli does. He's like
No,
run generation, he's still distribution
he's
but
also
he
a
can do
lot more defense minded rather than Cripps is.
yeah I'd say that just for his hard running
Mm,
he can go both ways. um So yeah, like but as I said, it's just like yeah, he'll more reliably do it off his own boot. You can move him forward as well.
hmm.
Probably a bit more effective for Cripps because he's got that marking option. Um, but yeah, as I said, and you know, in terms of what we are talking before, like Sarong, Rao, you're called a bit more defensive hard nut. Um, and then obviously you got wingers like Gordon and whatever. But yeah, as I said, in terms of match winning ability, in terms of forward prowess, in terms of just being terrific. Yeah, Marcus Bontempelli.
Yeah,
It's no doubt in my mind.
absolutely. I mean, it's especially they're they're the players in the competition. Granted, as an entire team, we all say Hawthorn is the best team to watch at the moment. They are really, really fun and really
Mm,
exciting. But in terms of individual players, it's players like Cripps, like Bontempelli, like Heaney, um,
yeah,
players that are there are individual players that are super exciting at the same time.
yeah, exactly. Um, all right. I think I'll couple a couple of your players because a couple of them I did think of picking myself. I've sort of already mentioned Massimo D'Ambrosio. I think yeah, I would say the four players that I was closest to picking for you, Massimo D'Ambrosio.
Hmm.
Um, as we already talked about from the wing. Look, arguably, like he's a bit less contested than some of the other
He does
ones,
get a lot of loose
but
balls. That is correct.
it's also the way Hawthorn play. So his run and carry off halfback and all that. Like personally, as well, playing him off halfback, I'm probably comparing him to Max Holmes a bit.
Hmm.
I think both fairly similar. Run and carry off halfback. He either does it himself or he runs past,
Hmm.
you know, or does that. And similar to Holmes, he finds good options to distribute it to up forward. It's not just that he gets the ball moving up there. He finds the best link up players to then move the ball forward. Um, yeah, as I said, very nearly there for me. Isaac Rankin, I really only didn't pick him for his games played,
Yeah,
but I
that's
absolutely believe that he absolutely deserves to be there. Um,
Although
he,
I feel like I probably should have put him in the middle rather than off half forward because they Crows have looked better when he's been in the middle rather than playing
yeah,
off
as
half
I
forward.
said,
But it's a rotational
well,
role
I said,
anyway.
look, yeah, like as I said, it's sort of like my bench. You know, as I said, I would put him in my bench. You know, and maybe we'll try and figure out how to mix teams together. But yeah, as I said, like that sub in sort of player. Honestly, one of the biggest, let's say, bursts. Um, you know, I think the important thing is we've seen a few teams where they lack a bit of burst in the midfield,
Mhm.
and sometimes that prevents some of the forward movement.
Yeah.
Especially with Adelaide, Isaac Rankin gets that in spades, and he still plays that excellent forward line work. As I said, like it's like I guess Alex Pierce as well. I would only not consider Pierce just because there's so many other great defenders.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
fair
as I
enough.
said, it's really just game played for him. But I respect the pick. Um, Before I looked at the stats, I had Raynar in there. But I think his first half of the season was just a bit too um eh.
Yeah,
But
you're not wrong.
Will Day too. Again, more so because the game's played, but there's no doubting how
Yeah,
fantastic he's
Day
been.
did miss a massive amount of footy in the first half, but
Yeah,
since coming back, he's been pretty unstoppable in the middle.
yeah. And obviously I've said before about Cherry. Um, you know. Um I would say he's the second back drop, and I've looked at some of the stats. In Look, as I said, I don't really like find ranking points like the be all end all.
Yeah, I don't
But
really look at the ranking points specifically all that much.
yeah. But I have actually been interested. Like the three best ruckman according to that, Gorn, Cherry, and they've got what's the GWS one? Kieran Briggs.
Kieran Briggs.
Um, yeah. Obviously, I'd probably put Koenig over Briggs, but yeah. So it's like interesting, just like how rounded Cherry is as well.
Mm.
Up in the forward line, he's terrific. I still, he gets so many clearances. I think Gorn still has him beat on that count, but it's like
It's
so,
it's
so
marginally close this season.
yeah, exactly. And as I said, for what he's been able to do with North midfield, he's always been providing. As I said, it was really just me, like, being a bit funny, I suppose, with how many tolls I was going to have in my team. So that's why I didn't put him in there. But if you're going to play two rucks, I think Jerry has to be there.
Yeah. For your team, I would have definitely. I was very much considering McGovern. I think the second half of the West Coast season has been very good for him. He's been very good on his one-on-one defenses. He's been yeah, you can see in a lot of his play. He's playing a lot of desperate footy. Like
Yeah,
you can tell that he just doesn't want to lose anymore. So
yeah,
so
exactly.
he's playing a lot of like he's jumping into like 2-on-1s and doing whatever he
Mm.
can to stop loose balls, and it's great to see because of how old he is. Like the fact his body alone is holding up from all that intensity.
Yeah, I think he's 32, 33.
He's like twilight years.
Yeah,
Nick Martin. I probably should have put Nick Martin. He's had a phenomenal season. I was kind of looking at the overall sort of scope of Essendon as to why I didn't really put him in there, but I probably should have. He's had a phenomenal season. Uh, I would say I probably should have put Dacos as well because it's Nick Dacos. Like that's kind of
yeah.
self-explanatory. Probably should have been in there. And the other one I was
I
kind of
mean, it's
tossing.
hard when you go. I will say it's like hard when you go to pick it.
Yeah, it is.
Really.
And like I was tossing it between Stengel and Rayner. I probably should have gone Stengel to be honest. Because he has had a little bit more consistent of a season. And then yeah, that's probably about it in terms of the picks that I would swap. Butters maybe, but I know Butters is also very hot-headed, and I'm like, is that the
I
sort of
wouldn't put him
personality
as
I wanted
captain.
this team?
You can have a little
He
heat.
wouldn't be my captain. I think I'd probably make Bont my captain.
No. Oh man, it's hard to argue against.
Well, I mean, you look at our
No.
teams, and we have
Oh,
4 captains in this list.
yeah. Honestly, and look, if there's any player I'm going to go back for, I actually think Joe McGovern is a step higher. Like his season has been actually like one of the best full stop fullback performance.
Hmm.
Um, it's just yeah, as I said, I guess like one of the hardest thing is like how many, you know, what do you call it? Entries in see inside 50 that West Coast succeed, it's sort of like, well, he's
Yeah,
just getting the
is
ball
it
in a
is
lot.
it
But
really ideal to put a West Coast like a drastically bottom of the ladder team? Like, is it
yeah,
fair
but
to have
like
a
you can make the
defensive player
same.
from that in the All Australian?
It's like, yeah, but then you never say that for full forwards. Like, you never go, oh, GWS are one of the best for inside 50 generations, whereas, north of the least, so I'm going to put Larky in over Hogan.
True.
I don't think it
Although,
works like
although I
that.
do like Larky over Hogan. Like, granted,
Yeah,
like as an overall scope of a player, Hogan would be vastly superior in this situation.
oh yeah,
But in terms
like
of
Larky.
just apples and oranges, I prefer Larky.
Yeah, like yeah, Larky's. I would actually argue he's been slightly down this year, but I think it was only really just because last year was so good and North has been so terrible that like lifting them up 2 years in a row was just a bit
A
much.
little bit too much for his shoulders.
Yeah, exactly. But as I said, Lucky's fantastic. Not quite all Australian, probably not even squad, but still a fantastic player.
I think he'd
Uh
be top 50, but I don't think he'd be able to make the 44.
yeah.
It'd be
It's
pushing
hard
it.
without actually writing 50, but yeah, I get you.
All right.
Um,
Do you want to try and formulate one together and see what happens?
yeah, I don't know because we've got a lot of difference in some areas. So, um, yeah, there's some picks I probably would rule out of yours. Some picks I wouldn't. So we'll see. Like I
Well,
said,
full back pocket. What are you thinking? Do you want to stick with Harris Andrews? Want to go Mac Andrew, or do you want to go someone else entirely?
all right. I don't actually think McAndrew, personally. For defense, there's been some games that he hasn't been as great positionally. Like fantastic player, one of the best coming up. I think it's a bit too early to put him in there.
That's a fair
Like,
assessment.
and I think also, I know it's a bit weird of a statement, but if he was really all Australian fullback, the Suns wouldn't have moved him forward. You know what I mean?
True, but
Like,
that's like you say the same. Like we could say that about Noah Bolter for an example. Like that's the issue. That's the
yeah,
issue with having a swingman is you can't lock him down to one position on something like this.
yeah, it is. But yeah, as I said, I think it's just a bit too early. I just Scrimshaw, like I just haven't considered him.
Scrimshaw's been very
Me-
consistent. That's why I'm just
uh,
general player.
yeah, like I said, it's hard because as I said, I think I also like goes to what we've been watching this year. Like I know you've just out of luck had more Hawthorn games,
It's
and
not a
I've
bad
just
thing. They've
like,
been fun to watch.
oh yeah, but you know what I mean. It's like I've watched a few St Kilda games. Actually, that's been about even for that. Yeah. So yeah, I got look as I said, I hmm, yeah. I mean, look, Wiedering's just in because we
Yeah,
both picked
Wiedering's
him.
100% in. Like I'm not arguing that.
I'm willing to put Alex Pearce in fullback. Take rid of Harris Andrews.
Yeah.
Um, but
So
McGovern, I think there's a tier between McGovern and the rest of the defenders, and it's
okay.
been an excellent year in defense.
So our full backlist is Alex Pearce, Jacob Wiedering, Jeremy McGovern.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm happy with that.
Halfback. What?
Halfback, I think put Ed Richards in there just
Oh,
because
yeah,
it's easier.
absolutely. Where is he? Down
Um,
here. Ed Richards.
look, honestly, see if you look. I'm happy to have Miss Massimo in halfback too, but I would say I still think he's
I
got
can
to
put him on the
like.
interchange. To compromise, I can put him on the interchange so they can't put him on a wing directly.
Yeah, I just don't understand that. So yeah, he'll probably be in the exchange. We'll look at what we got later.
Okay, we'll save that though.
Um, look, as I said, I still think Dan Houston's got to be in there, but I will
That
happily
sounds like a little
concede
bit of
over.
bias.
I don't think
No,
so.
I'm
Like I
kidding.
said, it's
Houston has
like,
had a very consistent season.
and I think the thing is, Houston's very good defensively as well, and he generates score off his own boot. Like it's probably like the perfect balance of what you want in a halfback. Because a lot of the other ones are a bit either or.
Hmm.
Like there are some very good. I actually think Nick Martin, and that's why I would lock him in there. I
I
think
was
he's actually been a bit underrated defensively
I was
as
just
well.
thinking. I had an idea. What about? Granted, he had a pretty rough first half of the season. What about Tom Stewart?
Nah, nah.
I had a
I mean, you
feeling,
can't
but I
really.
just wanted to toss that idea out.
As I said, I would still put Max Holmes. Like again, for run for carry, what he's been able to produce. So yeah, as I said, but in terms of what we were like, I think Nick Martin, we could probably both agree.
Yeah,
I'd
I
put
think
him in
so.
there.
Like he's been a really
Um,
core pillar towards Essendon's
yeah.
survivability in defense.
So we just need one more if we're having it. Richards in halfback.
Oh, I've got Dan Houston in there. I can take him out.
Oh, I mean, I would love. I think Houston is really just what you want because
Well,
I mean, I
my
would have him there in a
my only other
heartbeat.
argument would maybe be Sinclair or maybe
Yeah.
Nick Newman, but
Nick Newman again. I don't think is that great defensively.
or Zorko.
Like
I do have a slight favorability towards Jane Zorko, but
Zorko's a bit like Reyna. He's
yeah.
just like his best games are so good, but then you look at the games where he's done basically nothing, and you're like, yeah. It's just like not as fair for like the consistent performers in my mind.
Okay, one more idea.
But
Oh, two more ideas actually. Sam Collins or Nick Blakey?
yeah, we haven't talked about Sam Collins. Like,
Because
oh yeah,
he's so
look, I was gonna
overlooked
say,
is the issue. Like, yeah, we've talked about him
oh
in a couple of games throughout the year, but like he's
yeah,
severely underrated, honestly.
well, look, and also like, in terms of ranking points, like, because I've been there saying that before, it's like, it's actually Sam Collins is the top of that.
Hmm.
Um, personally, I still rate again, like my mind was like Sam Collins is like that, plus one that can also take a person, which again is Jeremy McGovern. Um, and also it's not really a halfback. I'd say he's in the conversation for fullback, but
Hmm.
you know, but yeah, Collins definitely deserves to be in there, like in the mix. I wouldn't put him off halfback. Like, I don't know, unless you want to like replace Pierce with Collins.
Uh, I don't know. I do really like the Alex Pierce pick.
Yeah, I'll just keep that in there though.
Maybe we could put him on the bench. Who knows?
Who knows? But yeah,
So
um,
Ed Richards, Dan Houston, Nick Martin.
yeah, I think so. Otherwise, we're going to be here for
We're going to be here
like
for a while
years.
otherwise.
Yeah.
All right, center.
All right.
Who we? Oh no, we can put Massimo on the wing.
Gee.
For some reason, it wouldn't
All
let me when
right.
I looked at it. He's gone on the wing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, just put him on there.
That's my
He's
pick.
a winger, and if we get him and Errol Gordon, we'll actually have a team with two proper wings.
Who do
So,
we want to put in the center? In like the actual center then?
um,
I,
look, I
I
think we're
went
gonna.
I went Walsh for
I think.
mine.
Yeah, I know. I personally wouldn't quite have Walsh as one of the top midfielders. So it's really just like what midfielders are we going to stick with? Um, do we prefer Feeney?
Uh I like the Heaney pick. I'm not opposed to it. We can put Heaney
Okay.
directly in the middle if you want.
Okay, so you got Sarong and Rao. I meant, look, yeah, you can have Bont there.
At
We'll
this
have
at
Bont
this
there, I
point, we're
think.
gonna have like an extended bench.
Yeah, yeah, I know. We'll put Bont there.
Bont, okay. Let me find him. There he is. And then we'll put Golden on the other wing.
Yeah, that makes the most
All right.
sense
So
to me.
Massimo D'Ambrosio, Marcus Bontempelli, and Errol Golden are our centers.
Yeah.
Half forward.
Half forward. Yeah, this is going to be the interesting because I think
I assume we
I'm
both
happy
want.
with Brian Myers.
Do we both want Jesse Hogan as well? Still.
Nah, kick him out. No, of course. Yeah. I think Hagen and Charlie you can just put as
Yeah,
one on one.
absolutely.
And we can rearrange them depending.
Who do we want on the other half
Uh
forward flank?
Look, as I said, I'm happy to go either or for Tyson Stengel or Grime Myers.
What about
Um
what about Merritt?
and not that far. It's hard because like
There's so many
he
good
deserves to be
picks.
in. Yeah, I'd still put him in the midfield group, and because he's in the midfield group, like I meant, look, he's all Australian like form.
Hmm.
I'm not going to deny that. It's just I don't actually think he's like the top five midfielders. Um, but like if you really wanted to fit him in, it's just Then again, you could argue that for Zach Butters for me, so I'm happy to let Zach Butters go. Um, but yeah, I think honestly, as I say, it depends. Like, I honestly think there's not that much difference between Tyson Stengel and Graham Myers. Tyson Stengel's got more goals. Graham Myers has got more score assists. So I'm
Yeah,
happy to
they're
keep
pretty
Grime.
much the same sort of player. They just play slightly different roles.
Yeah, exactly. So we can have Jesse and Brian.
And who do we want as our
I'm quite
third
happy
though?
with that.
Do we want a
Oh,
small? Do
that's
we
the
want a
thing.
tall? Do we
Well,
want
I
to?
think we keep the.
We could put a Dacos here.
I don't know. I'm happy to leave Dacos out. Like, I mean, honestly, you can keep Rankin there. I'm not that opposed to
What are your
uh
thoughts on Sheasel's season?
Shizzle. Depends. Again, he's like one of those ones where like I massively rate him, but it's like where do you want to compare him to? Like, do you want to compare him to the best back half users? Or do you want to compare him for like the work he's done in the middle? Because
Yeah,
like it's like he's solid at both. Like, don't get me wrong. But like when you compare his back half stuff in terms of like um, you know, uh well not so much score involvements, but like marking some it's hard because I did actually think about this a bit. Like I said, when you compare him basically what I'm saying is like when you compare him to the inside midfielders, he does seem slightly underwhelming. But that's just like the quality of some of the inside mids
and that's
and
also
some of his stuff.
that's also just game time
Yeah,
because he spent half the year on halfback anyway.
yeah, exactly. And half back, it's sort of hard to tell because it's got some midfield stats stuck in there. And even then, I wouldn't like I said. The only thing is clearly winning his disposal, which is fair enough.
Mm.
But um, yeah. So he's like near enough. If he gets all Australian, I wouldn't be opposed. He should be in the squad. Um, I wouldn't put him as half forward.
Yeah, oh yeah,
um,
obviously, but it was just I don't know, just
yeah,
tossing up ideas. Um,
yeah.
I do like the merit pick or merit or Rankin is what I'm kind of tossing up with here.
I'll put Rankin in there. I'm fine with that.
All right, so our half forward is Brian Myers, Jesse Hogan, and Isaac Rankin,
Yeah,
and now our full forwards, which one of them is at least easy to pick. We go Charlie Kerno there.
yeah. I definitely would say the case that Dylan Moore has had one of the most interesting seasons for the type of player he is. Um, he's the only non-midfielder, non-tall to be like he's the smallest player to be like, be winning the score involvements.
Mm-hmm.
He's got excellent run and carry. I would actually say like it's weird. It's not like a McGovern case where it's just like, I think is by far and away the best small forward.
Mm-hmm.
But I think people don't understand like for what he position he's sort of been asked to play, and he's not kicking to the most threatening forward line ever, but he's been able to do so much with it. Um, Probably a bit more consistent than I would personally say Ginnivan is.
Yeah.
So that's just my case for Dylan Moore. Whether you would agree with that or just want to put someone else.
No, I think Dylan Moore's a good
Um,
pick there. Obviously Charlie Kerno at full
yeah,
forward. And then in
and
the other
I
pocket,
am. Yeah, I am willing to let Jeremy Cameron though go. I honestly think he should be there,
he
but
should be.
it's just yeah, that middle time in the wing didn't help his cause when Geelong were floundering a bit. Um, but yeah, as I said, personally I'll put him in there, but for the sake of having too many tolls, um, plus it will be easier for me to get Cherry in the team because I know you won't let me leave unless I do.
Absolutely. I want Cherry in this team regardless.
Yeah.
But what about Ugelhagen? I
Well,
know. Obviously,
Ugelhagen
he's a tall
again.
player, but
That's
he's fast compared to the other tall players.
again. Honestly, when the Bulldogs aren't firing, he's been pretty. Eh.
Mm.
Is almost worse
Yeah,
than
but same could
Rayner
be
in that
said for Ben
regard.
King, to be fair, and Joe Danaher, and like half of these talls.
I just yeah. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't say for like Ben King. I would honestly like. Oh well, that's why I went for free with Jeremy Cameron because Cameron's been so consistent. Um,
Do you want
but
to put?
yeah, depends if you
Would it
want
be
to put another
fair to put
tall.
Stengel, even though we already have Ryan Myers?
Yeah, I could put Stingle in there.
Because like I like the idea of Ginnivan, but again, he's also not as consistent as Moore, as we were just
Yeah,
discussing.
honestly, put Stingle in there. Like, I really like the way Geelong's set up in attack. It's just not always been consistent getting it in there.
Plus, having an Indigenous goal sneak is kind of just par for the course for the All Australian. Normally, it's Eddie Betts,
Yeah,
but Stengel's now taken that role.
sort of. Yeah, as I said, bit quiet last year, but absolutely a huge follow up. So yeah, put him in there.
All right, so our full forwards are Dylan Moore, Charlie Kerner, and Tyson Stengel. Now on to our followers. So who's going to be our lead ruckman?
Ah, look, I mean,
Does the numbers just
it's
say
weird.
Gorn?
Look, the numbers do say Gorn, but I'm happy to put Cherry in there. It depends how many rucks you want to play. I don't think we have to play 2 rucks. And I think, just because this is a combined team, I'm happy to just put Cherry in there.
All right, if you're willing to compromise, I will put Cherry in.
Yeah. Look, I mean, look, we still have my team. Like, we'll probably post all 3 up on
Oh
some
yeah, for
sort
sure.
of Instagram post. But yeah, as I said, for a combined one, I think since Cherry's in both, he gets lead ruck.
Yeah, I think I'm good with that. All right, our two inside mids. Do we
Yeah,
want to go?
well, I got to remember where we put people now.
I put.
Uh,
I think you have Raul on the bench, and I have Raul as a follower.
yeah, I mean, look, just anything we have in common, work out um, how to put them in.
Raul and
I think
Sarong, I think are literally our two in common. They're just both on the bench for you, and they're both in the middle for me.
isn't Cripps?
Oh yeah, we got
Cripps
Cripps in
hasn't
the
been
Bont
put
as
in.
well. I completely forgot.
I thought we put Bond Center.
Oh
When
yeah,
did we put
we did put
Center?
Bont center. We did.
Yeah, okay. I'm pretty sure we put Bond Center, so I'm happy to have Cripps
Cripps.
and honestly, we'll go Rao.
All right.
Just for that defensive mix up. Like that's actually like team composition, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So our followers are Tristan Sherry, Patrick Cripps, and Matt Rao. And then
Yeah.
finally our bench, which
Okay, so we said
this could go anywhere.
yeah, so we said we're putting Raul on the bench. So
Um,
that's
so we don't have to do
oh
that
no,
anymore. So,
Sarong.
yeah, we'll
Sarong,
put
Sarong.
Sarong on the bench. You find him,
Um
Caleb Sarong. And we said we want someone
uh
else on the bench too, but I've already forgotten who it was.
no, it was
Was
gonna be Massimo, but he was allowed on the wing.
Oh yeah,
So
that's true.
um
Heaney.
ooh, so like oh yeah, you can put any there. I mean you can put any of my players there. I agree with all my picks. But yeah, honestly, you said if you're fine with Sinclair, I'm happy to put Will Day as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could literally just do Sinclair and Day as those last three spots.
Well, I was gonna say that would be the easiest. Like honestly, of all that's left is sharing. But we put Rankin in, didn't we?
Yes, we
Yeah.
put Rankin in the pocket. Oh, sorry, on the flank.
I'd say Will Day. McCluggage has been pretty good, but again, it's just sort of that hard to pinpoint sort of thing. Like, who do you compare McCluggage to?
Yeah,
It's
because like
like,
he's not a pure wingman, but he's also like not really a pure anywhere else. He kind of floats
oh
about.
yeah, like he is what I would put as like a center. Like that middle center. It's a bit utility. He does roles, sort of
He's
thing.
very much a role
But
player.
he has had a very impressive year. It's sort of a weird one for him because it's like, um, yeah, in a weird way, he goes under the radar again. Like we haven't even talked about Lockie Neal, who
Oh,
again
I
is
know,
probably
which is he's still easily probably top five Brownlow options, but He's definitely not winning it this
Yeah,
season, I don't think.
I don't think. Honestly, I think this season is probably like the same as last season, where it was just like I felt he was. It's just some games he got tagged out of it and all that. But last year he won a Brownlow, so it's like, what do I know?
Yeah, well, to be fair, most people still agree that he probably shouldn't have won that Brownlow, but
Yeah, I should or shouldn't have. He's good enough to be in contention, but yeah, like in terms of like top 10 midfielders, like he is there.
who
Like
else?
it's no
If we
doubt.
were to take someone out, who would you put in? I'd probably go Merritt.
It would. Yeah, it would be like Will Day for merit because I just don't think Will Day has played. And I don't know how many games Will Day has played actually.
uh, Merritt, Collins, because we were tossing that up. Um,
Yeah, I
Maybe
mean
Lockie Whitfield.
Whitfield, I just don't rate that heavily
I just
to
don't
be
think he's
honest.
had that consistent of a season.
It's not that consistent, and I just look. I don't want to say stat patter because like we're talking about elite-ish players.
Mm.
I don't actually think. Yeah, I don't rate Lockie Whitfield all that highly this year,
I'm
but
surprised that Richmond even have a player like as an option. Like I don't even none of our players I don't think have had that good of a season, including Nick Floston. But
yeah, Vloston, I was a bit
I like that he's got. I
surprised at, but
appreciate that he's got the
maybe
nod, but I just don't think he's that consistent this season.
I think maybe they just wanted one representative from each team, um, which makes me surprised that I don't know here.
There are
Yeah,
6 players
I think they.
represented from Brisbane.
Yeah, but Brisbane is
Six,
like that.
no, 7 from Carlton,
Yeah.
2 from Collingwood, 4 from Essendon, 6 from Fremantle. No, 7 from Fremantle. Sorry. Uh, 4 from Geelong. Uh,
Hmm.
6. I think 6 from Gold Coast.
Yeah.
3 from GWS. Uh, 4. I think it's 4 from Hawthorn. 1 from Melbourne, being Max Gorn. 3 from North Melbourne. 2 from Port. 1 from Richmond. 3 from St Kilda. 6 from Sydney. 6 from the Doggies, I think. Did we put
Hmm.
anyone from the Doggies in our 22?
Bontempelli.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, of course.
Oh, and Richards as well.
Richard. Okay, there's 7 from the Doggies and 4
Uh,
from West Coast.
yeah.
And there's probably someone in there I'm still forgetting, but
I think you got them all. Yeah, honestly, some of the things are a bit weird, but yeah, like Brisbane uh, Bulldogs, again, they're just so stat heavy when they're on. You know what I mean? It's like you look at some of them and what they're able to produce, but you also got to like take into consider some of their worst games. Which is why I said like I was willing to compromise Harris Andrews. There's still like okay, it's not quite good as one-on-one defender as Wiedering, in my opinion.
but he's
You
very
know
good
what?
at covering a lot of ground as a defender.
Covering a lot of ground. He does take the most intercept marks. I think. Or is it slightly more? I can't remember, but yeah.
He's like McGovern. He's a very good desperation player as well.
Yeah, exactly. But I will agree. Like Brisbane defensively were pretty bad in the first bit of the season. I
And
just
they
can't
were also
remember
pretty
how much
bad
of that.
last week when I saw them live at the Gabba.
Oh, Harris Andrews actually played a bad game. Like, in fact, probably Wiedering didn't have the best game, but like, you can't really take one
To be
week.
fair,
So
Carlton also got decimated by injuries that game. That was just
yeah,
very
exactly.
unlucky.
Yeah. So as I said, like every player on here has probably had a bad game. I just can't remember when and where for some of them.
All right, so if we're
Um,
good with our interchange, that would be Caleb Sarong, Isaac Heaney, Jack Sinclair, and Will Day.
yeah, sure. Yeah, I still didn't figure out how many cancelled days have played, but yeah, man,
He's
he's just been
played.
so
He's
important.
played. I think half at this point. Otherwise, I don't think he'd be on
Yeah,
this list.
and look, the rise Hawthorn's taken coinciding with Will Day coming back in. Like, I
It
know it's not be all end all, but
it does line up
it's
pretty
pretty,
consistently.
yeah. So yeah, I'll just give him the nod. I like Will Day.
All right, so to finalize this team, our fullback is Alex Pearce, Jacob Wiedering, Jeremy McGovern. Halfback is Ed
Mm-hmm.
Richards, Dan Houston, Nick Martin. Centre is
Yep.
Massimo D'Ambrosio, Marcus Bontempelli, and Errol Goulden. Half
Yep.
forward is Brian Myers, Jesse Hogan, and Isaac Rankin. Full forward is
Yep.
Dylan Moore, Charlie Curnow, and Tyson Stengel. Our followers are
Yeah.
Tristan Sherry, Patrick Cripps, and Matt Rowell. And our interchange is Caleb Sarong, Isaac Heaney, Jack Sinclair, and Will Day.
Yeah, we'll call that the first coast to coast All Australian. Why not?
And after all of that, there is no Nick Dacos.
Yeah, whatever. He's a Collingwood player. He'll get attention later.
I mean, he's too good to be on this list. He can be on his own list.
It's you that didn't put him in. I my team.
I didn't hear you
Don't blame me,
lobbying
but
for him.
it's a lot of players.
Sure, it is a lot of
Like,
players.
I don't know where I'd necessarily play Mick Dacos in terms of like all the midfields. I will say, like off the top of my head, Bont, I'd have over him. Cripps, I'd have over him.
I'd maybe take out Sinclair or Day, but that's like a very 50-50 option because sometimes he doesn't play off halfback, sometimes he is just the pure midfield.
I just like for team variety having not another midfielder in there.
Yeah, that's true.
Will Day. I guess Will Day is a midfielder, but you know he roams a bit more. I don't know.
So
Maybe I'm just
overall,
fine.
we actually changed. We actually compromised on height. We're not as tall as both of our teams' options were. We're very much a lot
Yeah,
more well-rounded now.
yeah, exactly. Which I find cool because I was trying to do that, you know, when we were both putting them together still, but also like not getting into 30-minute long arguments because he has said all these players deserve some form of credit. It's always something that's lost in the All Australian. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, there's some players I would like more than others, but some fantastic performances this year. So
Yeah, well,
yeah,
considering how close the season is, it's a testament to like the quality of players that we have in
yeah.
the league.
You know, with swings and roundabouts, you know, some players have just hit at the right times. You know, even with the Sydney players, like you would have argued that there would have been like what
Almost that
5 Sydney
entire team.
players. Yeah, well, you know, like hell, even someone like Nick Blakey, like it's really only been the last few
Nick
games that have made
Blakey,
me
James
not.
Rowbottom, uh,
Yeah, Rowbottom injured. Yeah, Grundy at time. I never quite sold
Grundy,
on the best, but
Golden, Warner, Heaney, pretty much
yeah,
most of their
Warner.
midfield.
Yeah,
If Adams had played more games, I think he'd probably be on this list, or at least be on like the squad.
yeah, maybe talk about it. I don't know.
Probably not our list, but he'd be in the squad. I think.
Yeah, maybe. There's a
Uh,
lot of good players in the AFL.
so many good players,
uh,
and it's crazy to think that a lot of them could easily be Brownlow favorites. Like if Fremantle
yeah,
were a
it's
little
always
bit more
interesting.
consistent, if Fremantle was slightly more consistent this season, Sarong would 100% be up there.
Yeah, but honestly, even All Australian, like their midfield, you could put anyone technically in their midfield. It's just Sarong's slightly better, I think, like week per week. Like Hayden Young doesn't get quite as many disposals, but you could argue he's like the ultimate finisher.
Mm-hmm.
And then Baby Brayshaw, you know, as I said, like opposite a bit of Sarong, like his offensive efforts have actually probably like he hasn't been that clean. I'll probably say I wouldn't put Brayshaw in there, but you know what I mean? He's definitely a bit more I wouldn't say consistent, but you know what I mean? He's just I still think he's actually the central piece of Fremantle's midfield.
Absolutely,
Um,
that I can agree with.
it's just yeah, it's just so wrong, as I said, tends to you know, be the hard nut that they go to, which you could argue for Fremantle's equally as important.
Yeah, and to be fair, the same could be said for a lot of teams. Like for Hawthorn, for example, Will Day has been that massive, like, focal character in that mid. Him
Yeah, exactly.
and
Like
having Lloyd Meek out there as a very important rock.
yeah, Lloyd Meek, Warpedo, like I would say he's more actually I don't know, who is leading the clearances for I wouldn't be surprised if Will Day's caught
I
up a
think
bit, but
I think Warple's played more games, so he probably is in terms of Hawthorn
you'd think
statistics.
so. I don't know how many clearances he actually wins though, but yeah. Anyway, uh, again, Will Day's fantastic for that mix for Hawthorn. So um, yeah. No, as I said, it's just with so many, it's so hard to compare players like in different roles. Like as I said, like how do you rate like Matt Rowell's defensive efforts towards Isaac Heaney's offensive? It's like, well, what do you prefer in your team? It's like if you had a different team, you'd like different things. So, um, yeah, I think we've got a nice team with a lot of different balanced players. Um, I still probably like mine better because my team better because I picked all my players, and you probably like your team better because you picked all your players. But
This look, I think
um,
there'd be a couple of players I would take out after this conversation,
yeah.
but
Anyways, it doesn't matter too much.
no, I
Um,
think our compromise list is very very good. Um,
yeah, I think it can go quite well.
so I
I
will.
think yeah, you could almost put it on a park, and it might again resemble something of AFL football.
There we go. It has been submitted as the All Australia
All right,
as the Coast to Coast All Australian team.
nice.
So
Um,
that
yeah,
that will do us. It's just a little short hour long little conversation about what we would pick, and
yeah, exactly.
who knows, maybe we could be right. I doubt it because there's 100% going to be a Nick Dacos in there, but
Yeah, well,
as
who knows?
that's just how it is.
Vic Bias might finally leave the AFL. We don't know that.
That's a Collingwood bias. That ain't a Vic bias.
It's a Vic Bias. Collingwood Bias is Vic Bias. It's no difference.
Maybe. Um,
Maybe.
but yeah, so that will do us for this brief little bonus episode. Thank you all so much for listening in, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts on the All Australian. If you have your own selections, we would love to hear it. Either send it to us on our socials, or if you're friends with us, just send it to us personally. We would love to take a look. And
Yeah.
yeah, please be sure to tune in for next week's episode, episode 26, where we will cover round 23 and a couple of the currently announced retirees, such as the one that I am blanking on that was just confirmed the other
Apple?
day, Dyson Heppel. Thank you very much.
I don't
He's the
think
only
there's
other.
another one,
No,
but
he's
there probably will be.
Heppel's the only other confirmed one. But if there's more announced over the weekend, we will cover those in next week's episode. So be sure to tune in then, and we will see you all on Wednesday. Goodbye.
Bye.